evening, everyone. Hope you're all having a good day. Oops, no, I've got my microphone in front of me. There we go. That should be better. Hope you're all having a good one. It's been really, really nice to see the sun out today. I was just telling Steve I was actually having a day off. And then I nipped into office just to do something quickly. And I think about 5 hours later, I had wife on phone saying, "Where the bloody hell are you?" So, yeah, there we go. The nature of the beast. But yeah, as I say, lovely to see. I think spring has hopefully arrived. It is nice to see decent temperatures, bit of sunshine, and fingers crossed, before you know it, you're going to be getting them covers off your ponds and cracking on with an absolutely terrible British summer. So, yeah. There we have it, folks. So, yeah, tonight we're on live questions. So we've got some others in backup if needs be, but please feel free to start firing the questions away. Not too much to report at the minute. We've got shipments plans scheduled coming in. I think is the same sort of issue a lot of dealers have. We've got a lot of fish taking up a lot of space at the minute that have been overwintering with us. So trying to get them out to make space for shipments coming in has been delaying shipments coming in as well. So just one of those issues we have. Hence why it's nice to see some sunshine, because, yeah, when you guys can't get the fish you've been buying out to your ponds, it clogs the whole system up. And, it can be quite stressful at certain times of the year as well. But there we have it. Other stuff. Auction last night, very, very successful. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for that one. I have got a little and I am going to mention this towards the end again as well, but we did have, I don't know whether it was someone just after a bit of a laugh or a wind up last night, but yeah, one thing I'm not going to do with calendar. Oh, he's got his calendar. There we go. Nice one, Dale. Everything we do across Koi Wholesale, Koi Talk is all about trying to create good vibes, and I'm not going to have what we're doing jeopardized by people, whether it's just rogue, multiple accounts, whatever it is going off. It's just not a vibe I'm going to create. So we're going to take a very strict zero tolerance policy to all that. If we see it or somebody antagonizing in amongst the comments, we will just block and delete. That's where we're at with it. Because as well as that, some of the sort of abuse, let's say, last night really got to Chris and Joe, and I'm not going to have that for my team either. So, I do appreciate that 99% of everybody tuning in is all humble and wanting the same vibe from it. So, this isn't aimed at everybody, just the few. But, yeah, absolutely zero tolerance towards that stuff. And then, secondly, is just about the dealer auctions. Now, if we look back to when I started this, I was very clear that the dealer auctions were open to everybody. That's the public and the dealers as well, because, ultimately, Koi Wholesale, that's the company name, is a business that's been built off of the back of supplying great fish and great service to the koi dealers that we sell to. And I am never, ever at any point going to, put them to the back of the pile or the bottom of the pile. They're the core, the foundation. What I have done in building Koi Wholesale with their support from all these dealers is now what's enabling me to go on and spend the time investing in this content and everything else. So, that is where we're at. Koi Wholesale, it does what it says on the tin. So those auctions, and I was clear from the beginning, they are for everybody. So unfortunately, if you're not a big fan of dealers participating in them, when a lot of the time they're actually participating on behalf of customers who don't want to get involved on the night or can't, then please just don't participate. It's easier than setting off, because I'm not going to be replying to comments about they don't like dealers participating. They are the foundation and core of my business, and I want to support them. But also, obviously, from everything we've been doing, the idea was to find a hybrid way to open up to all you guys to participate and have some fun with it as well, because we was getting absolutely bombarded with all that. So, that's where we're at with that one. It's never going to change. So like I say, if you don't like it, please just feel free not to participate and just tune in or whatever it is you wish to do. But yes, there we are. Enough with all that stuff, because, we don't want to be wasting time chatting about that rubbish. But I am just going to come back to that towards the end, just to reiterate it again to everyone where we're at. So there we have it. Like I say, please fire in those questions, and yeah, let's not forget about tomorrow evening. Cannot wait for the new Koi Talk Live show. I just want to sort of, a bit more info on it, because, tomorrow we've got the full panel on to sort of introduce, have a chat amongst us all. But the plan is we won't be having everybody on every week. It's going to be a selection of the panel every week attending, and it's going to be for topical discussion. So we've got a list of all the topics sort of decided already. We'll be debating and discussing amongst us, while hopefully you guys tune in and can have your input as well to help steer the conversation. That's the idea behind it. So it's one we've been working on for a bit, and hopefully it all comes off. We've got a very interesting mix of characters, personalities, and everything from the industry. And I hope it becomes, what we've envisioned it to be, and that you guys all really, really enjoy it as well. And the bit I'm most excited about is for you all seeing the intro. I've been pushing Rob really, really hard to come up with something really nice, and hats off to him. He's absolutely nailed it. So I might just play that on loop a few times tomorrow, so you really get the full experience of it. But yeah, other than that, let's see what questions we've got coming through. Only a few at the minute, so come on, folks. Right, let's have a look. Paul straight away. Oh, so I've just took Steve's comment off the screen. We've been doing that a bit recently, fighting between us on here. Right, Paul, good evening, buddy. Comments about Japanese breeders. Mariju for now, others to follow. Sending Tosai to grow out in huge mud ponds in Vietnam. I can't find a link to a video. Right, you're going to have to give me a bit more information there, Paul. I've not seen that video. Don't really know anything about it. I wouldn't think for 1 minute, if he's sending fish out there, it'll only be on the basis that a customer in Vietnam's bought them and is then growing them and selling them. That's a big part of what the Vietnamese industry has been doing. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. I can't see, because certainly if that's where I think you're aiming with that one, you can't send fish back from Vietnam to Japan. That doesn't happen. So yeah, not quite sure what's going off there. Mariju, as well as being a breeder, he's also got a company that does export. So that's there as his side business. So that possibly might be where you're getting the crossover, and quite a few other breeders are involved in that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, let's see. But feel free to give me some more information, mate, so I can push on with that one a little bit more. And there's there we go. Teaser of the intro and the subscribers club tomorrow. Yeah, look out for that, folks, if you're a subscriber. So yes, right. Ian Satchwell, how you doing, buddy? I watched the Koi Talk magazine chat earlier in the week between yourself and Chris. It was very informative information. Obviously, there are a few people out there who just want all male or all female ponds, not knowing if you do have a pond of just females. Can that lead to Koi becoming egg bound? Nobody, not all. I think the whole thing with egg bound is typically what I see is some fish seem to be more prone to it, and you can often see it coming in the belly line more than anything, because that's ultimately what it is. You see a lot of the big showfish. This is why you can't really tell male or female. They're not particularly eggy. There will be egg in there, but it's kept proportionately well. There's some fish I see, the minute that belly line goes wrong and you hit it with a bit too much food, they're the fish that seem to become very, very aggressive and egg bound eventually, or just carrying a lot of egg, not necessarily egg bound, because it's a bit of a different thing. I think that's where people get confused, but getting very, very heavy with eggs. So yeah, no, not female only, because a lot of people do keep that. I think it comes down to the fish only. They don't need to be spawning. Spawning can often encourage, extra additional egg production. So yes, mate. To be honest, I don't think it's a matter either way. Obviously, you can discourage natural spawning at that point, but yeah, I've seen plenty of ponds of all female just kept, and I do truly believe it comes down to, like I say, the belly line and the bone structure more than anything as to how they end up actually carrying the egg in the body. That's the big challenge with female fish, especially. So I hope that helps you out with that one, mate. There we go. Tricky gaming. People always talk about 1% of koi that are kept. Maybe a weird question, but what is happening to the koi of the 99%? Yeah, more than often in Japan, they're cooled. So they're just killed because keeping them would clog the system up. It's actually illegal to release them into the waterways as well. They can get in massive, massive trouble for doing that. So yeah, they're often just destroyed. You know, in the early age, when they're very, very small at the early stages, that is what's happening with them, being completely honest about it. Different countries I can't really comment on. I know some countries keep a much, much higher percentage of fish, but I'll say pond space is so valuable. And the minute you start clogging it up with fish that are going to have no commercial value, that is when you stop getting the results, and the good fish, you know, suffer as a result of that one. But yeah, good question. I suppose it's one of them things some people prefer probably not to know about, but it is a reality, along with, you know, a lot of other parts of other industries. One of the harsh realities. But yeah, producing quality koi, there's a lot of waste products to it. Right. Let me have a look. Lee Ferguson, how you doing, buddy? Ricky, is there a rule of thumb on how much bio you would need per X amount of gallons and litres? Yeah, I think it last week I sort of touched upon this with a stocking levels question. Oh, it's the Steve firing away in background. He's getting trigger happy today as well. I've got it, Steve, don't worry. Right, there we go. Is there a rule of thumb on how much bio you would need per X amount of gallons, litres? So, yeah, I think it was last week I touched upon this with a sort of stocking levels question. This, for me, really comes down to feeding as opposed to how much water volume you've got, or even necessarily your stocking level. All mainly comes down to feeding. And what you really need to be checking is a lot of the modern medias do have quotas on how much media or what quantity of food a certain amount of media will handle. And that is where I would be basing it all upon, because it's the food that really makes the difference. I think I said this last week with stocking levels. You can really heavily stock a pond if you're not really feeding it all that much with actual fish weight. But the minute you chuck the food into the equation, it changes completely. And then depending how aggressively you're feeding. And that's how I look at all system design when I'm doing it, especially the growing ponds, is what feeding capacity I've got as opposed to anything else. So yeah, I know with the plastic medias like the Oaza Helex, EA Coldness and all that, I do believe there's quotas out there on how much media or how much feeding level a certain amount of media can do. With ceramics, that's not going to be so easy, but I think the general rule of thumb is, you know, go for it. And you can never really have too much biological. Only in some really extreme cases does that become true. So yeah, good question, mate. One from the States. Are you all still working on getting the magazine out to USA? Yeah, it's already available at the minute to buy, as you can buy the back issues in our online store. It's just at the minute we are working slowly in the background. We've got a lot of different projects on, but looking at the subscription becoming available out in the States. But in the meantime, the back issues can be purchased. So feel free to help yourself to a nice big collection of those. Sorry, one there I missed. Not heard about me tickets, secret Sankey, sir. Any info? Cheers, Terry. Terry, not sure what you've got, if you've ordered them online, so providing you've got your email confirmation, that acts as your ticket. If it's anything more than that, feel free to drop us an email or a PM and we'll chase it up for you, buddy. But yeah, that is a reminder. Actually, I forgot about that. You see, I'm not even plugging all my stuff. Shocking. Yeah, if you haven't purchased or you're interested in coming to the Secret Sankey event on May 28th, where we're also, featuring that. We've got a judging seminar with Alan Tate. There's Yivo from Koi Partner attending, obviously Lee Hadfield, Crafty. We're doing a Koi Wholesale live auction at the venue. Really nice catering is available through Liam. That's it, with his all of his pork, rare breed pork that he's doing. And then the sort of staged parts of it where we're doing the Koi Talk live. Question time live that we do here on stage with all our guests who are attending, for you to fire your questions, ask your questions, and just go for it. Just a really, really nice Koi-based day all round. So, tickets are £22.50 each, available on the Koi Talk website to purchase. If you're interested in coming along. Right, let's have a look. Paul Harrower. I have a modest 1,200 gallon pond. I have 9 Tosai, Nisai, I have a Tempest and an Easy Pod. How many fish will I be able to add to the current setup? There we go. It's becoming a bit of a theme, this one. So you're never going to hear me, Paul, quote any kind of things that you need. You can have 10 fish, 12 fish, 15 fish, all of that kind of bullshit that's out there. There's far too many variables to come into play when deciding your stocking level, because you could say it's 1 fish per 100 gallons, say, just as a theoretical number. And then, with the filtration you've got there, that might be stretched a little bit. Whereas then all of a sudden, if I've got that same amount of water with 2 bottom drains, 2 nexuses, a shower, it's a very different ballpark there. And then also, let's say the amount of fish, you're going to be governed here by the amount of food you've got. Now, what you can do, Easy Pods, again, I think they used to quote a max daily feeding limit for those. But what you've also got to gauge all this by is your water as well. If your water tests are coming up, if you're feeding on the limit and your water tests are fine, or you're feeding a bit over and your water tests are fine, that's absolutely great. If you're feeding and you're struggling with your water, then you might possibly need to change something and reduce the food more so than reduce the fish. Because a 1,200 gallon pond, I mean, if I can just 1,200 gallon, I've got quite a few of those kicking around. You may or may not have seen the Akawa Shearer Sorry video recently on YouTube part 2. So, I mean, there was a crazy amount of fish. I can't remember what it has, about 150, was it? 120, 150, something like that. Fairly good sized Tosai in there, pushed through and pulled out 20 to 25 7. There was a lot of food going in there, but that pond is filtered by a big brush chamber and 300 litres of K1. And that 300 litres of K1 is your real powerhouse, because it's like the equivalent of 6 standard Nexus filters as they come, just to give you an example without boosting the media up. So, there's a lot of biocapacity in there to handle that. So, you got to be guided by your water. That first and foremost, because if things are struggling, then you're going to have to dial back. But ultimately, let's say, if you go back to EA's website, you should be able to get an idea or do a bit of Googling based on how much media is in there. Because I think it's probably all changed. I don't even know these days with Easy Pod if they've got micro or normal media in it. So have a look, and then just be gauged by that. And it is good, feeding with the kind of measuring system of some description is really handy. Even if it's one time you invest to make a little scoop with some lines on to give you an estimate of where you're at with the food, it's the best way of feeding, because that way you've got some control, because everything's going to adapt to that feeding level. I think the hardest thing is when you're unknown what you're feeding. You'll have days like today where no doubt ponds can catch a degree or two, fish activity changes completely, and then it's very tempting to, you start throwing a bit of food in, and that can literally double the amount you've been feeding, and your filter's just not used to processing it at that point. The bacteria's got to colonize to come back up to that level. So, there's a lot of variables at play. This is why in the systems, when I'm running them, I've got that ultimate stability. Not only is it warm, so they adjust and adapt fast, but even at that, when I go through the feeding settings, I have to be very careful not to increase too much. It's a gradual process, and it's amazing how quickly I can lose that capacity I've built up as well if I have to stop feeding for whatever reason. There's so many variables to this. And the one thing I will say is, if you're out there listening to anything else, reading anything else, giving you quotas on 1 fish per X amount of water or any of this one, just cover your ears. It's an absolute load of rubbish. Feeding is going to be the one that guides you. And obviously then, your system and the performance of your system is going to be your second one. So yeah, go with that one, buddy, and I hope you find that useful. Paul's just come back to me a bit there. I believe it's probably aimed for fast grow out in warmer climate in view to export to other countries, not for sending back to Japan. Right, yeah, fair play, Paul. It's not something I've seen, mate. I'm here most of the time, so I don't get a lot of time to sit watching YouTube videos, to be honest, mate. But yeah, interesting one. Vietnam sort of changed the game with the Tosai thing. It's made my life harder in the past few years because it's made the whole thing more competitive. You know, when you've got a country there that doesn't have to pay for the heating, it's absolutely wild. And then they can buy such vast amounts, and they have been doing so early as well. You know, I've really had to adapt to then keep up with them. So, interesting one. And yeah, send the link. And if I get 5 minutes, I'll watch it. I'm sure everyone else will be curious now, buddy, as well. There's one. How many koi do you have in Japan that you're going to tell us, remembering your wife may be watching? Yeah, no, the wife doesn't get involved in all this stuff, mate, to be honest with you. I'm quite lucky in that respect. But yeah, not as many now, to be honest with you. I had so many sat at NND, and obviously that shipment's now home and part way through quarantine. So we're all good there. And yeah, the rest, I don't know at the minute, to be honest with you, excluding customers' fish. Or if I start putting customers' fish in, it racks up to crazy numbers, but possibly somewhere between 10 and 20 off top of my head. So, yeah, there's some pretty serious pieces left now, but gradually keep getting more and more of them back. Yeah, but then obviously there's always new ones that end up cropping up as well, although I've been a really good boy so far this year. Yeah, it's great. She is watching. Brilliant. Right, Abby. See, that's got me sweating now, that one. I've gone all red. I'm panicked. No. So, right, Abby Bain, what do you think is a sensible quarantine size should be? Yeah, I think, to be fair, looking at what most people do, a few 100 gallons is more than enough, because you're not going to be having you're only probably going to be having a few fish in there. You can fit a pond like that most places, and you can get it done. My main 2 quarantine houses were made up of 400-gallon ponds, and I've really worked them hard over the years with some pretty big stocking levels. So yeah, with that amount of water, I think it's absolutely perfect for serving its purpose. Excuse me, and acting as a small grow-on pond at the same time as well. Just important to get that filtration right, and yeah, away you go. Right, another one, sort of just touching on what I mentioned earlier. Why do you only sell to the trade when you can get more from the public? It's not about getting more, Martin, to be honest with you. Like I say, Koi Wholesale and where I've got to has been built off of the back of doing what I do right now, helping the dealers. I've always felt that I can have more of an impact through working with the dealers, you know, the stuff you don't see behind the scenes when we're working with people, helping build their businesses, making dealers as good as they can be. That has an impact on more people than me just having one place, thinking about myself and doing it. So when you think about it now, the whole network involved in it, you know, yeah, Koi Wholesale, the Koi Talk thing sat at the middle of it, sharing the knowledge with you guys, and then, you know, helping the dealers grow and expand and become a better experience. And they're all over the country. There's so many of them. And yeah, to be honest with you, the other bit is just resources. You know, the minute we open up to the public, time gets stretched crazy thin. We're already all stretched enough as it is constantly. We wouldn't have the time to focus and do what we do on the back of that as well. So yeah, it's just always, it's a route I chose. I'm very loyal to it. I stick to it. You know, I'm here for the dealers. I'm also here for you guys, but it's just in regards to business and financial transactions. That's not a line I'm going across. So, you know, everything I do, we try and share and help you guys as much as possible, and help them guys and bring it all together. So yeah, I hope that's understandable. And like I say, I just know, having done it, you know, for a long time as well, we just wouldn't have the time to spend on all this stuff as we do. And yeah, ultimately as well, you know, I know what's involved in being a good koi dealer, and I see now that the amount of time the guys I work with spend with customers, we don't have that time, because the reality of a service that we would provide, I believe, wouldn't be as good as the people that I work with ultimately. So yeah, loads and loads and loads of reasons, but like I say, we are where we're at with this, and it's never going to change. Yeah, there we go, Crafty. You see, this is where I do generally see the benefit. You know, the more outlets we can get working to a higher level and getting access to better fish, the whole hobby grows. The more time we can spend sharing our knowledge with all you guys, improving your skills and experience, the more you lot grow. You know, I've been quite humbled in the past weeks. We've been doing some Koi Talk surveys and just generally getting quite a lot of DMs and stuff through about, you know, the impact we are having, what we're doing is having on people's koi keeping journey, and how more engaged they are with the hobby. And that was the only sort of reason for ever starting this. So it is incredibly nice to know that is the effect that it's having for all you guys. And yeah, just generally, it's nice to see even the guys we don't deal with, you know, seemingly just in the bigger picture, as people keep telling me, there seems to be more going on, more events, more auctions, just more stuff across the board. So I'm really, really glad to see it, because the industry thriving is just what we want to see. You know, as far as the UK is concerned, I'd like to see us back at the top in regards to, you know, buying in from a competitive side out in Japan, and there's no reason, you know, why we can't get there. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one, buddy. Right, just bear with me, get back into it. But yeah, nice to see. And again, just that, you know, the transition, Crafty, you know, more people getting into the industry, you know, because it's great. We need new blood coming in all of the time. Every industry needs new blood coming in, younger generation, all the rest of it, just more people into the trade with different skill sets. It's quite hard, because I think sort of wages across our industry are not the best. So, you know, it's quite hard at times to bring in people with, you know, particular skill sets from other industries, because it's not really all that competitive. But yeah, we sort of keep trying, and yeah, like I say, nice to see Crafty following his dream, making it happen now over at Perfect Aquatics, and I'm sure there's many others to come. So yeah, happy days. I like what's happening at the minute. James Smith, Harrick, how do you feel we could get more kids involved in the hobby, like maybe a summer school style idea, or do you feel there's enough kids engaged in the hobby? Yeah, no, I don't think there is. To be honest with you, again, it's been in our ideas pool about trying to engage with kids. I did have a discussion at my kids' school, and then the minute she got the red tape book out and started throwing it at me, I was like, "Oh, it's, you know, logistically, how do we get this done?" But in all honesty, I think the best way we do it is through social media. You know, we look at where, if the content is here in these places, ultimately, you know, I think happy hobbyists at home, more people building ponds, ultimately then exposes more kids to it. And if the content is out there for people to see, you know, I look at like my own kids at the minute, 7 and 5, and how much they learn and discover on YouTube in a good way. You know, if they can manage to come across the content on there, this is the way that it's going to get engaged. But I think it's just everything, yeah, up in the hobby, getting more exposure to it. COVID was ultimately, and lockdown was a huge marketing campaign for the koi industry. You know, I think that's what got overlooked. You'd probably have to spend tens of millions to have that kind of impact on how it sort of shifted the needle and got new people into the game. And unfortunately, there's not that much money in the industry to be able to go out, or even a body there that could invest and go on a marketing campaign like that. But yeah, I think that's, you know, not just talking about kids, we're talking about getting, you know, more people involved, full stop. So, and that ultimately comes down to awareness of the hobby. And then, you know, making sure it's when people come into it. And again, this comes back to the whole idea of Koi Talk and what we're doing. The thing for me is, when you bring new people into the hobby, we've got to nurture them and look after them. What we don't want to be bringing them to is an absolute shitstorm where everyone's tearing strips off people there. The only reason people's giving opinions is to massage their own egos. Everything like that is not helpful. It's counterproductive. ultimately then dealers, we need to make dealers as good as possible, because that's where people end up first of all. And if, dealers can be a wicked guide for keeping people in if they've got the right attitude, so good dealers need to be supported. The ones that are only bothered about selling something to make a quick buck, they will have a negative impact because their advice is always skewed by what they can sell. And that I have no time for. That does make my piss boil. But like I say, when we bring them in, we need to nurture these people and keep them engaged in the hobby. We need to keep people in when, existing people in, when new people come in, look after them. And I just remember time and time again, that was always my mentality working at my dad's shop, and always his mentality as well. You nurture someone, and we had people there who we really saw grow through the hobby, and we're not just talking about, time spent in the hobby. That's important. But then we had people who were going from, multiple pond builds over that time, which is all reinvestment back into the industry. People going through different phases of fish. One guy starting off spending no more than £40, and by the time he was done, he was spending just shy of £3. His circumstances never changed. It was just his confidence, and we had to bring that out in him. That was the most important thing. So that's my mentality on it all. It's the absolute way I look at things, and it's why we're doing what we're doing, because, as I say, we want to see it all thriving as much as possible. And I think a happy, thriving industry and everybody getting behind it and looking for ways to bring people in will ultimately have an impact on kids further down the line as well. So yeah, good question though. Like that one. Right. Let's have a look. There's an interesting one, because I think everybody's got one of these. Harry, got one fish that always comes out of winter looking rough. Is there anything I can do to add to pond to help them get in better condition quickly? Yeah, what you might be doing here is it just might be a fish that's suffering a bit with its immune response internally, something along them lines. So it's a bit of a weaker fish that's more heavily impacted by the cold. What you have to be careful of with fish like that, if it's not suffering parasitically, which be careful of that, because a fish in this kind of state can also tend to be exposed and pick parasite problems up a lot easier, which will then ultimately spread to the other fish. But yeah, to be honest with you, the best thing you can do in this instance is salt, because adding random medications and stuff like that can further burden a fish like this that's already suffering. But what you're going to do with the salt, you're just going to boost the slime coat. You're going to ease off some pressure on the osmotic system, and then just let the fish's body kind of take over and do a little bit more for itself, rather than doing something that's going to have a negative impact on it. So let's say make sure you're parasite free first of all, and then go for it from there. So, but yeah, I think that's a common, we see this a lot. You can always have that one fish in your pond, and you have got to be careful with them, because they can be really massive sort of problem causers. So Evo, how you doing, buddy? Looking forward to tomorrow's live stream. Yes, me too. And I hope you guys, if you've not seen it already, I presume you have, the content that's been dropping on the Koi Partners channel that we collaborated on in the summer. Really love Evo's videos. I'm a big fan myself. I think most people agree. It's pretty much the best out there. And yeah, nice to be able to partner in and bring in something to his channel and his audience as well. So yeah, keep it up, buddy. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow. Right. Here we go. Grant Harvey, good evening. TDS, is a low TDS a good thing or a bad thing? What would be the ideal TDS for an in-ground pond? Right, so TDS is you're going to get it as a bit of a metric for sound like the waste levels in your water. But as I've said before, it's not something I test for. Don't really fuss about it too much. There's a lot more to be focusing on. I think if you're at a point where you're feeling like you're nailing everything and looking for a tiny area to improve upon, then that might well be the thing you start looking at. But ultimately, you can gauge organic pollution in your water from the color of it. When you get that sort of yellowy brown staining, your organic levels are getting up. But the thing that I have caution around with this is it's another number to be chasing and understanding why you're chasing it. Because if all of a sudden you're looking to drag it really low, you're adding RO systems. To me, you're adding an air of vulnerability then to your pond, and something else to manage, something else to complicate things, or you're flooding heaps of water through your pond, and potentially, if you don't understand what's in your mains water, you're not dechlorinating it properly, you're going to be creating problems there as well. So I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, because ultimately, if you lower than waste levels, you are going to stimulate your appetite a bit more. But there's so much more to the whole picture that I feel, unless you're at a level where you think, I need to really, go into something crazy to take things to the next level, then it's not something I'm going to be plugging saying you need to be going and checking that. Because I just feel like koi keepers in general have got so much more to get right before they start looking and chasing after the madness of TDS levels, as I've seen, to be honest. So that's my take on it. And like I say, right, it just ties back into my old keep it simple mantra, and with trying to chase TDS can often come a lot of complication as well. But certainly if you're at a point, like I say, where you feel like you can't do much more, and there are other ways of dealing with it, foam fractionation is quite a good method of removing organics. The Clarity Tower units were always a product I really backed, because they did a cracking job. And it's a natural method you can do it with to help remove it. And there will be benefits to having a lower TDS. I think the conversation probably needs to go around, it becomes when people are chasing the extreme numbers. On a basic level, you can gauge it if you are testing it from where your tap water is, what TDS you've got there, and where your pond water is, because we presume the difference between the two is made up of organic matter. So it can show you where you might need to focus to bring it down some more. But like I say, only on the basis of that you feel like you're nailing it with everything else first of all. And it's one of them, the last things you tweak in to get that extra few percent out of your fish every year. So yeah, nice question. Daryl, how are you doing, buddy? Ricky, on a growing season with having a pond at 24C, would there be a time frame for growing them? Can you push for too long? Also for the conditioning side, yeah, you can absolutely push them for too long. I wouldn't be hammering it too much. I'm normally, so I'll be looking at this, start winding things up in April, late April, and then I start winding down normally in October, depending on the pond or how the growing season's been. Obviously got to gauge it by when we've got manual control. Obviously, if we need to, we can extend things. If, like last year, I had issues like with the Dainichi fish, because of the prolonged time periods of high stocking levels, they needed to be pushed on a bit later to get them where I needed them to be. But ultimately now they've had their winter period, quite a prolonged one as well, resting just with minimal food to keep them ticking over and moving to conditioning, which they're actually the Dainichi collection I speak about. They're moving to conditioning soon. I've been working quite hard on the Benny just of late. They've been on straight colour food, sat at 18 degrees. And then I'm going to be hopefully next week moving them onto a period of Sakai Pure White to really bring out the Shiroji and get that in a point where I'm happy before we start with, final selection and then growing again. But realistically growing, you want a good solid 5 to 6 months, pushing them the rest of the time sort of just a bit more chilled out and keeping them ticking over. I have seen it where fish are pushed 12 months of the year. It ages them too fast. I believe it makes them weaker. You're going to lead to swim bladder problems, spine deformities, and a much shorter lifespan on the fish, without a doubt. So nothing wrong with pushing them hard in that 5 to 6 month period, but pushing them hard for 12 months, absolute no-go for me with that one, buddy. Wow. Yeah, thanks for the questions, folks. We went from having a few and being a bit quiet. It looks like I've got a never-ending list here now. Never managed to get it all done every week. It's an interesting one. Last year you said you have a lot of Asagi. What happened to them? Because I haven't found any. Mate, they've been going out. We've still, the numbers are coming down as well, to be honest with you, but they've been going out to dealers all over the place that we deal with. So feel free to get on our website, check out the dealers and have a ring round, because I know there's plenty of them in circulation. In fact, we had a batch, because it's the first one that sprung to mind, a nice batch that went to Perfect Aquatics that Crafty was mucking around with the other day. So there you go. There's a starting block for you, mate. I can't remember any of the others off the top of my head, but yeah, there's been plenty kicking about. We've still got plenty on site as well, mate. We are getting through them, but it's a slow process. Right, just bear with me. Tricky gaming. Can you tell us which koi farm that you know that got Sakai bloodline in the koi they produce? Wow. Yeah, a lot, buddy, is the answer to that one. Springs to mind straight away, NND. So NND Sankey, they in 2009 had a Sakai female introduced to them. Kansuke Kohaku are based off of Sakai lineage. There's so many had Sakai blood mixed in there amongst others. It's just one of those ones. Everyone knows they can give their lineage a big boost by introducing Sakai blood to it. But yeah, off the top of my head, mate, I mean, there's certain farms where there might be like a subset, so a parent subset that's had a mixture of Sakai. There'll still be the core breeding, but what they won't do, obviously, you take a good farm that's got an established bloodline, its own lineage. They're not just going to come and bomb it one year. There'll be a parent set they might try a mixture with, often keep those fish isolated, see what happens. And that could end up being the future of that lineage as well as, the other stuff they've got going on. Later years will probably come a transition. But yeah, overall, so many. It's become the modern day sort of Matsunoski, if you like, especially Sankey, Taniguchi, Sakai, Sankey, Miller Harvey. There's just so many farms with that blood, breeders down there buying parent fish because it's the one, it really is. And yeah, I was actually sorting through my Sakai pond the other day, and my God, that was good fun. Some of the fish in there are absolutely mind blowing, the potential. But then what I see across them, it was a pond full of 1,050 fish, Tosai, and what I see in there is just so much. The standard quality of skin was absolutely superb. There was not one in there that had poor quality, Benny. They were absolutely banging. Just then a case of sorting through the bodies and the pattern, so to speak. Even the bodies were pretty damn consistent, to be fair. So, yeah, exciting stuff. Lots to come from Sakai this year. We're only just really starting with that and getting the content and stuff rolling on it. But yeah, if you didn't know the name already, I'm sure you will by the end of the year and learn a lot more about what they're all about, to be honest with you. But such a dominant force in koi these days. Travis Koi, Ricky, big thanks to you here. Adding salt to my pond spring regime has really perked my koi up. I started adding 0.1% a day to get to 0.3. Can I add all in one hit in future? Yeah, we often do, buddy, to be honest with you. You honestly want to try and minimize it. It's often one of these more of, do as I say, not as I do type things. But you're probably better just to be a bit more gradual, not to freak anything out, especially if you're not experienced in using it. So yeah, I think you've done the right thing, but there's no issues in adding it all in. Not up to 0.3 anyway. If you're going a lot higher, I'd probably do it a bit more gradual. But yeah, I'm glad to hear it's had a positive impact. It's just one of the little sort of great tips that can really help out when you've got an unheated pond in winter and spring, to be honest with you. Right. Actually, I've just remembered something I've been thinking about as well. So I was looking through the Momotaro auction fish earlier. And yeah, really nice to see they've got to a point, it's the bigger size stuff. And following on from our podcast the other day about unsexed Tosai, it's actually a topic that's going to form part of the discussion tomorrow night as well. So just to get some more, I want to know what the guys have got to say about it more than anything. But really nice to see them listing fish as male and female. No unsexed on there. They've gone for it. They're not female guarantee, so there's an element of risk still. But to the best of their knowledge, they've gone either way and gone, look, we know this is male and we're sure this is female, but we're not guaranteeing it because a lot can happen and change. I've got a lot of respect for that because, on that basis, everyone knows where they're at. Everyone understands the risk that they're taking. And I think Momotaro has been probably the first one to really push forward with the whole male koi thing and really enhancing the reputation of them and what they're capable of. And they're not ashamed of it. They're proud of it. And what their lineage can do with male fish. And I'm going to be curious to see what the prices end up doing, to be honest with you, because looking at them, I seem to think it's probably going to be a pretty level playing field, seeing the quality of them. And everyone in the trade knows what Momotaro male fish can achieve. But yeah, just really nice to see that, then we can make as consumers or dealers, whoever's buying, a very informed decision on what's going off. So yeah, well done them. And yeah, more to come on that Momotaro thing as well. Watch this space. So yeah, good to be. I'm always one to mix it up, and it's been a long time with them, but fascinating lineage that's been produced over there. They really have carved a niche out for themselves over the years. Right, let me have a look. I have got a few fish in here for a little bit of koi appreciation. Nothing too in depth because they're pretty. It's 4 bangers I've got at the minute. But yeah, it's nice. Always nice to have a look in it and a bit of a chat about them. Ooh, there's a good question. Daniel Lamb, hi Ricky, what is your all-time favourite koi? Wow. In fact, actually, that's sprung straight to mind. Dainichi Kinsen Kohaku that won the All Japan. I can't remember what year or what it was. There'll be someone out there be able to tell us possibly. But yeah, that fish was exceptional. I think it took quality to another level, even on the past run of Grand Champions that there's been. Such a special fish that's really, yeah, top draw for me. I think the Benny was just elevated, and the skin in general to a level that I don't think another Grand Champion's touched since. And I think it'll be a while before we see one at that level. Just such a profound impact. The body, everything, dead simple pattern. Just think it's an epic piece. There's possibly others there as well, if I think, but that was the one that sprung to mind straight away. I don't know if he was aiming that at fish I've handled or bought, but overall, fish I've seen, that's the one for me. And yeah, she's now swimming around at Dainichi Toyota. Looks absolutely shocking. No weight on it, slightly bent. All the bennies just about fell off. It does happen, folks. These things, you know, when they hit that peak, there's only really often one way that they can go. It's just a matter of how long it can sustain that quality for, to be honest with you. And yeah, the NND stuff, like we have been, we had a bit of an issue with the footage, but we've about pulled it all back together now. So more to come on that one soon, buddy. Right, couple more. Thank you again for all of them, all the comments. There's just so many to get through. Twisted Koi, Ricky, over the years, how many prizes have you won in Japan? I don't know, buddy. Don't count. I've got them. I keep them, all the certificates, mainly the kind of up. I say up on the walls. I've got quite a few of my favourite ones up on the walls. I always say it's to remind the guys of my greatness when I'm not there, which is me being sarcastic, by the way. But yeah, and there's quite a pile for me. And to be honest, I lost track. You know, for me, it's not necessarily about the award. It's the challenge of learning and spotting those fish and understanding what it takes to win at them shows. The process of getting the fish, you know, it can be a battle as well. So yeah, plenty, and I'm sure they'll keep coming. Although I'd say I had a bit of a chill out with it this year, but I can feel the bug coming back. So yeah, it never evades me for long. But yeah, good question, buddy. Thank you. I can't see where that one. Oh, there we go. Took it off there. Adam Webber, just coming back on that one. Your Koi Talk video on sex tosai was a really interesting insight. With the batches of smaller tosai you get in from various farms, is the male female near to 50-50 or still male and male? I'll tell you this year, buddy, to be honest with you. So I had a batch, got a big batch from Sakai, Dainichi. Yeah, we'll see at the end of the season where we're at with it. I know from the smaller Issa last year did get a lot more females, although males were still very, very dominant in it all, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's wait and see. But from last year, having the smaller one, Issa versus the bigger Issa, did get more female fish out of it for sure. Yeah, time will tell with that one. But let's say I like the fact I know with this I've got a level playing field. They really can't be checked at the size I get them, so it is literally down to chance. And you do find this with some parent sets. You know, the percentage male female can be decided by, you know, the spawnings at times. Some breeders know they get really low averages. Some know they get higher averages. It's all good fun. Oh, here we go. Couple in a row here. Off topic a bit. Do you get fancy goldfish or just koi? No, I don't. I bought some Tamasaba this year to play around with. Some of you might have seen on my video. I've got one that I can barely fit in my hand, a 3-year beast. And yeah, I just, I enjoy fish. So we have a play around. And we did actually shoot a video on the Tamasaba I've got the other day to sort of document them a little bit, which will be coming out soon. But if you are, and this just ties into the question here we've got as well, if you are a fancy goldfish collector or you're interested in purchasing them, check out Westview Fancies on Facebook or online even as well. That's my dad who runs that. He's quite big into them and got some absolutely stunning fish for collectors of fancies. So yeah, look that up and you won't be disappointed. And I know there's probably a load of koi people watching there thinking, my God, them things, but it's each to their own. I find them quite fascinating. And, when you get into that side as well as I have done, I've actually to my right here in my office got a nice Oaza Highline tank with some fancies in, and I've had some crazy pieces in there, Ranchus up to 7-inch body size. And, they're mighty impressive. And there's a lot of technical aspects to them. And the show scene to them as well, I find quite fascinating out in Thailand and bits and bobs. So, yeah, there we go. Sidetracked on that one, but that's just generally a fish nut all round. Right. Couple more questions then, folks, and I'll get moved over to showing you what bit of appreciation I've got. I see Alan's watching, so obviously Alan could do with a bit of educating every now and again, so we better include them koi appreciation sessions for him. Neil, what about clay rather than salt? I can only presume that he's talking about what we've been speaking about, and clay is not going to have the impact on the fish like salt will. Clay is just more like a flocculant, can help obviously clump particles together, bacteria, things like that, clear it from the pond, as well as a bit of ingestion for the digestive tract. But yeah, it's not going to have the impact that salt will, because it doesn't affect the osmotic system in any way or anything like that. So yeah, very different beast there. Only presuming that ties back to the conversation we've had earlier. Right, what else have we got? That's a good question from Michael Thompson. When you buy a fish that has been fed on colour feed, do you have to continue colour feeding? And if you don't, will the colour fade? Ultimately, it's a catch-22, that one. It won't fade massively unless you put it in conditions that aren't conducive to it, because ultimately what the colour food is helping to do, it's not artificially, well, some do artificially enhance it. I've seen it where it's been sort of krill based and things like that, with those kind of carotenoids in that could produce that pink colour, where it actually it kind of puts a false glow on everything. It's kind of like someone turns a switch and just lights it all up a bit, and also destroys the shiroji at the same time. I remember a koi food from years back, Koi Fudu, I think it was called, that was absolutely loused with krill meal. And I was given some samples of it, and I never forget, I had this terrazzo koaku that was a stunning, lovely, soft bene, nice fish. Starts feeding this food within 2 weeks. Its skin looked like shit, and its bene was glowing as if it had neon bulbs under its skin. It looked terrible. And that's all I can put it down to, because I've seen that happen a few times with that, and it can be a real bitch for secondary here as well. But yeah, if a case of like the Sakai colour that we're using, it's encouraging the natural pigmentation to come out. So it's pushing the colour, it's forcing the colour to spread in the scale and achieve its sort of natural level. So with a fish like that, like the ones we've raised, for instance, you would have to put it in an environment that is having a negative impact on that colour to send it backwards. It's not going to naturally do it. With the first scenario described, like that koi food, as soon as you take that food away, you will lose the artificial glow and everything else that goes with it over time. But in the other case, like I say, with what we're raising and doing, we are bringing the colour up, bringing the natural pigmentation out up to the levels where it should be. So yeah, those fish won't fade off unless you're doing something like, lack of UV to them, mainly lack of UV to them, to be honest with you, or really poor water to affect that colour condition. So yeah, hope that's useful. Right, last one. Let me have a look through and see which one we're going to be doing. Oh, there we go. I like that one. Alan Finley. Hi, Ricky. How do you train your brain to ignore pattern until you've processed bone structure, body shape, and skin quality? My God, that's a good question. I think, to be honest with you, it's exposure to it. This is the hard thing. It's just exposure of seeing it until it just becomes subconscious. I don't think there's any other way to sort of train your brain, really. This is what they say about learning anything, languages, anything like that. You've just got to keep doing it. It's repetitiveness. And yeah, just keep looking. The more fish that you see, the more you pick up on this stuff, the more that you raise, your eye then learns what's happened over that period. I think it's good to expose yourself to it. You know, if I just show you this, I've always loved the Japanese magazines for one reason. I get it. All they basically are. That's very funny. It's turned to that page as well. You see that absolutely delightful Marathon Koraku there. That's actually the fish I supplied to my client. What a beast it is. But yeah, that there is a prime example of what you're looking at. Now, when you look at that, these pictures, what you're subconsciously doing is picking it all up. You know, you're seeing what, because these are top Japan show winners. That's what often is just littered in these magazines. So what you're eventually seeing there, that's also nice to see as well. I'm getting distracted now. Again, that's an advert from NND, but just look at the level and standard on there. So, you know, there's not a bad body. You know, there's great head shapes, there's good bodies, but this one here, that's actually my fish as well. I've had since a toe side. That's now in the UK. Absolutely phenomenal piece. But yeah, that fish middle as well, bang middle. That's a fish supplied by exclusively Koi. That's gone to one of their customers, another Japan show winner. So yeah, just by looking at pictures like that and having exposure to as many fish of quality as you can, naturally your eye should start picking up what's good. Because with these, you know, you are looking at things that are all just good. They're exceptionally good. So I'm just trying to see. There's more. Yeah, more examples here. Look, get that right on camera. So you just need to see more and more and more of it, as much as you possibly can, because that is what's going to help you learn. And then let's say you're selecting. I think this is why it's important not to move away from raising toe sight as much as possible, because it really is the best way to learn. You need to be seeing at them small sizes, and the more of that you do, you know, it's easier for a koi keeper to buy batches of small fish every year than it is that, you know, one or two big considered purchase where, you know, time invested, 6-12 month period raising. If it doesn't go right, you've only got one or two fish there for feedback, as opposed to a batch of 20 or 30. When you upscale it, you know, you consider the amount of fish I've seen over the years, the amount of fish I've seen develop more than anything. I do believe it's the only way to truly learn it. So yeah, and just learn to take a chance. You know, when you're looking at these fish, it's really is hard to switch off from pattern. But I think it's just that process. If you can really just start to pay attention, look beyond it, say, look at the body, really focusing on it to begin with, and just try and look past everything else. But in the meantime, just consume as many good fish as you can. Hi, Michael, tuning in from South Africa. Very nice. Yeah, just consume as much as you can. And yeah, go from there, buddy. That's as much as I can say, really. Just keep forcing it. That, to be honest with you, that in the magazines is what, the Japanese ones, is what inspired the appreciation pages in Koi Talk magazine. So for those of you who might not have seen it, just grab that one. Ooh. The Koi appreciation pages there that we do, as well as the colour fish, you know. But there's 3 of those in every one, where we've got the technical sort of breakdown of the fish. But the idea of that was just to put quality fish in there for you to enjoy, for your eye to absorb it, and for you just to enjoy them. So yeah, get looking. Look at as many good fish as you can, wherever you can. I suppose you'll be able to find a lot of them on the internet. Look at all the breeder auctions that get listed. Just consume it. You know, you cannot begin to imagine the amount of this kind of stuff I've consumed over the 20 odd years I've been doing this, you know, just on such a crazy level, which has ultimately led to that experience now where it is a subconscious process. When I'm doing a fish selection, I think we sort of noticed this in the fish house the other day. A lot of it is very pattern based. It is the first thing, because subconsciously I'm ruling the fish I go for. It's already, my eyes already kind of picked up 1, 2 as in shape and skin, and then it's almost just picking them out by the pattern criteria there, because my eye just will not go drawn to anything where the body isn't doing the job. So yeah, practice makes perfect. There we go. So at this point, I'm just going to apologize to everybody who has posted a question we've not got to answering it. First bit, just as we're gonna do a bit of appreciation. We'll just run a bit longer tonight, but yeah, the wife dropped on me earlier. Actually, she said, "Why don't you start doing this at 7 p.m?" And having seen the amount we've now got tuned in versus earlier, we might consider shifting the time slot on a Wednesday. There's a bit we'll have to sort out logistically, but let us know your thoughts in the comments if it'd be more convenient, better, where we think, or stick with the 6 o'clock. It'd be nice to know. But yeah, that's that one. And then I just want to come back to where I started on the beginning, because I do just want to sort of hammer this home. It's been absolutely great this evening, as we've seen. But yeah, on yesterday's live auction, we did have, you know, I don't know whether it was legit or who it was in there causing some chaos, creating some bad vibes. We're not going to tolerate that. You know, the guys were affected by it, which I'm certainly not going to accept. And yeah, it's just not what we want. The environment we're trying to create is a positive one around koi keeping, good vibes, happy vibes, everyone learning and enjoying the hobby as much as possible. So, you know, we are going to take an absolute zero tolerance approach to that. If we see it in any of the lives or anything, we will just shut it down, and we will be on top of any repeat offenders. Be sure of that. And then just coming back to the actual auctions, and I think the bit that came up a lot last night was, you know, it's not fair to have dealers participating in these auctions. Just want to reiterate again, you know, the name of the business is Koi Wholesale. It's been built off the back of dealers. The success and where we're at with everything has been enabled by that cooperation with dealers, and that is where I will always stand. You know, publicly, we're doing our best to share knowledge, entertain, do what we can. But yeah, the rest of it, you know, and I made it very clear when we started the auctions in the first one, they're open to everybody, dealers, hobbyists, whoever's watching in the UK is entitled to participate. Dealers are often bidding for customers, you know, proxy bids. But at the same time as well, you know, we just wanted open transparency for the whole thing. And that's what we're providing. That's the system that we've got. And if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to participate. So it's where we're at. That's not going to change. And yeah, we keep going the way we are. And I do, again, just want to end on a positive and thank everybody for the support and input into it all, because it really is going well. And I'm pleased. So yeah, right. Bit of koi appreciation then. These are all actually fish that I have recently purchased. Yeah, don't worry, mate. It's I'm not going to waste time going on about it all too much. I'm just you know, just make it clear where we all stand on it. And yeah, don't worry, it won't deter us in any way. I'm just not going to accept it. And ultimately, you know, I want to look after my people as much as possible, not coming off of a live show feeling shook up because people have been acting like idiots. So yeah, there we go. Right, yeah. Anyway, these four fish, they are recent purchases, to be honest. And yeah, exactly, Brian. Sorry, I'm going to concentrate on what I'm doing. Yeah, one being topic of the sort of night. That they're all 4 Tosai, 3 from Taniguchi, 1 from Momotaro. And we'll start with the Momotaro one, because this is fish I had at the All Japan show. Didn't do anything, didn't really expect it to be honest with you. I just really liked the fish, like what it got going on. 22 cm Tosai. I mean, yeah, just look at it. Again, first and foremost, you know, strip everything. And it's hard to, because the pattern is so damn good on this fish as well. You know, the balance is just impeccable. But yeah, I mean, look at the head. The head's really leading the way on that one. And what I like is there is, everything I'm looking for. We've got the taper in there on the body, but you can see there's a lot of power in this one. The head is huge already, really wide mouth to it, really long head, great width to it. But you can see there's a lot of power over the shoulders, and it's still carrying a lot of power through to the peduncle. Not too much, so there's no concerns. This is actually something I showed Joe when I was doing Denichi selections the other day, because there was a fish that looked like a powerhouse, but it actually had a deformity in the peduncle because the peduncle was too fat. Now, you can mistake that for power, but I knew full well what was going to happen with it. And that's not the case with this one. Just all round, there's good height to it. It's a really, really exciting prospect. So, yeah, and then we move on to the sort of skin. Again, I mean, look at that, the depth of that Benny. I mean, it's just so, the thickness to it. Also a nice softness to it as well. Sashi is at a really, really nice point, hence why we thought it'd be a good challenger for the show. And I mean, the key were actually showing a bit of a mixture there, but quite a bit of Kamasori sort of looking like at the minute. I do think it'll pull a little bit more sort of Marazomian style in areas over time. But yeah, cracking piece, very high prospects, Tosai, and one I can't wait to see where that kind of heads in future. But yeah, can't ignore the pattern with that fish. I mean, just super elegance to it, incredible balance. It's got an amazing flow over the body, the head pattern, even the last bit at the tail stop at the peduncle, nice bit of Odame, just really ticks a lot of boxes. And yeah, I don't think you need me to tell you that it's a pretty valuable fish. But yeah, let's see where it goes. And like I say, nice to be dealing with some of the Momotaro stuff again after a while. We were pretty much one of the first people to sort of bring it to mass market. As we started Koi Wholesale, actually, we started buying a lot of Momotaro fish. It wasn't quite as competitive then as it is now, to be honest. We used to be able to get nice deals on ponds of jumbo Tosai that we would do once a year. We was in quite a nice regime until all of a sudden the Asian market stepped up the gear. The price of them went through the roof, and we just stopped it. And then at the same time, as it typically happens, more and more people in the UK started buying them. So it become less of a niche, and we moved away from it, because I always like to say mix things up. And we went away. They've been doing what they've been doing, and sort of reignited it again. And then on to one of my favourite variety of the moment, and breeder for me, one of the absolute favorite places, Taniguchi. And these are fish that are in his I can't remember what they call it now. It's an event they do where they're being raised at the breeders, and the fish are basically pitched against each other for judging in their competition. But yeah, I mean, wow, what a Sankey that is. These are only small. I think they're around 16 and a half centimeters. But I mean, just look at the technical intricacy of that fish. The picture's slightly overdone. The Japanese do tend to do that. The Momotaro one I showed you, that's a very natural picture. That one, I can see it. This one's had its usual kind of Japanese tweaking, but it doesn't stop me from knowing what level of quality is there in that fish. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I really need to say too much there. It's more just one of these, look at it, enjoy it, appreciate it. It's got a really strong body coming. You've got to remember it is only 16 cm, so we're not wanting it to be too fat, too powerful, anything like that. It's just got a nice strong taper at the minute. We can see it's sturdy at the peduncle, and everything sits well. There can be a lot of change in the sumi. Who knows what's going to happen? But the perspective pattern, balance of it, the Karaku pattern underneath it, just all ticks so many boxes. Great fish, and yeah, testament to what sort of Taniguchi's lineage is all about, to be honest. And then that moves us straight into that one. Another, you can see all these different styles, but another Taniguchi Sankey of a similar size. Absolutely cracking piece there again. Very different kind of pattern, slightly less traditional. That there's got that very traditional pattern that can be very, very strong in Japan. That one, don't get me wrong, it can do the business, but I think that's more suited to a European sort of style show scene and market as it comes through. But again, no denying the quality there. You can see Sumi sat under the skin, which on that right hand side will more than likely mask over with Shiroji before possibly emerging again in future. But like I said as well, with these young Sankey, it can often happen where the sumi just falls off completely as well. That baby sumi, you get a radical transformation then. But again, very technical. You look at the balance of the Benny pattern underneath. We've got Odame there as well. Just all the technical aspects that really contribute and add to the quality of this. Really nice Marizome Kiwa. Yeah, got it all going on that one. And then the third one is the bit more of an outside chance. And I think this is one of them prime examples where people possibly look at this fish, look at that potential underlying sumi, and look at where it's sat and think that's going to be too heavy. Again, 16 cm. There's so much going to happen yet. It's going to grow. Shiroji is going to become more prominent as it thickens. Some of that underlying could possibly never emerge, and some might. But you know, those small areas of Shiroji are going to become bigger. The balance of the fish and everything's going to change completely. But what you can see throughout them all is that strong, consistent body, and yeah, you know, consistent head patterns, head shapes as well. Look, as we click and cycle through all them, just all them characteristics we're looking for, and you can see it there quite clearly. So yeah, nice stuff. All exciting prospects. And all available if anyone is interested. The 3 Taniguchis will grow on in Japan until April. Then we'll see the options with them while we review the other Taniguchi event fish as well out in Japan. But yeah, happy days with them. Very exciting prospects. The Momotaro one I'm going to keep stashed away for a bit longer because I don't think people would like the price of that at the minute. And we'll see where that one heads in future. So, yeah, there we go. Thanks to everyone for joining in again this evening. And, yeah, we'll review the sort of feedback on whether we carry on this at 6 or up it to 7 or what we do. And, yeah, I look forward to everyone hopefully joining us tomorrow evening. We'll see where it goes. Like I say, the whole crew is on tomorrow. And, yeah, from 7 p.m. on the Koi Talk channel, so Koi Talk Facebook channel and YouTube channel as well. And yeah, can't wait. So topical discussion. Let's see what happens. Hopefully everyone behaves and we don't start throttling each other. But yeah, other than that, enjoy the rest of your evening. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.